Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. So you have pre-Thanksgiving special. I have to
put a description on the streams now.
Yeah.
When I
Is that because of Elon Musk?
You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. You can go to radiozero.us. We're live streaming on Facebook lately around 4 p.m. on Thursdays, Central Time, every other week.
Sorry, I was late.
Facebook on the Radio Zero page, Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. Thank you for everyone who has been patronizing us. For those of you watching the live stream video, yes, we are wearing our winter clothing.
Why are you wearing your winter clothing?
I went outside to pick up the younger.
Oh yeah, you just
the younger.
No, that was a while ago,
not
right?
the elder, the younger. And I just I didn't take off my, as I was asked as it was described once in the early 1990s in Europe, a rapper hat. Why do you wear a rapper hat? I was being interviewed.
Really?
By it was on
like
tour.
German.
Yeah, I think was it a German? I think I'm just going to use a bad German accent, a German fanzine or radio person, and they asked me why was I wearing a rapper hat, and my answer was I'm from the middle of the United States. This is what everyone wears in the winter.
I made that hat.
And it might have been in Germany because that was also you always you need fresh air, and so you'd be at a squad or a club in Germany in the dressing room, and all the windows would be open and it would be cold out, and so I would wear my rapper hat.
I love that. You know what I was going to teach this? I wanted to teach our children this. One time, I don't know if it was France or Germany. I don't remember where we were. And I think it might have been, I keep feeling like it was France because I remember thinking, what I loved about the showers in France, when you'd be at a squat or you'd be at a club, and the club had people hanging out, and then they had upstairs, there was a place to live, right? Or the band would stay upstairs, right? Some of these places in Europe had a shower, but the shower didn't have there was no shower curtain, and there was no shower the weird yicky glass thing either. There was there was a shower in the middle of the room, and the toilet was right next to it, so you could pee, and then you just walk over to the shower. And I always loved that. And there were, your clothes would be hanging, but there was no shower curtain. I loved that. I loved it so much. And sometimes the windows would be open, again, in the shower, because it was freezing cold, it was snowing outside, but they had the radiators, and it was the second floor. So, the windows would be open, and so you'd be showering. You could smell the fresh air. Do you remember that?
I do, and I also remember that steel pole bathtub tour we did, and we were all on a bus. It was 3 bands, actually, on a bus.
Yeah.
16 people on a bus, 12 of which at least were Americans. And then the first day we got to the club, and then the bus driver went to take a shower, and then he walked into the dressing room, out of the shower into the dressing room completely naked. And then a bunch of Americans went, "Whoa!" And then he kind of stared at all of us, and he said, "Oh, Americans, you hate your bodies."
Yeah, it was great. He's right.
It was funny.
I wouldn't care at all. I have no care at all.
It was also
people should always walk around naked.
And then there was the crisis he had when he saw all of our passports, and he realized he was the youngest person on the tour, and we all looked younger than him. He
Mario,
looked
I think.
Yeah, he looked he looked in his 50s, but he was the youngest.
Yeah. And
we were already by then in our 30s, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to teach our kids was that I was in a shower once, it was after a show, it was probably 2 a.m, and we were in Europe somewhere, and I was taking the shower, and I realized I didn't have, like, there were no towels. There's no towels, and I didn't have my my towel was still on the tour bus or something like that. And so, and it's, you know, cold, the windows are open and the radiators are on, and it's snowing outside. And I was like, oh shit, you know, could I use toilet paper to dry myself off? No, and then like, no, you can't, because the toilet paper sucks there also, right? So I was like, what do I do? And I've used I was thinking, well, should I use my shirt? My shirt was all sweaty. I could use my shirt, my tiny shirt, to dry myself off. You know, Americans are used to a big terry cloth towel to dry ourselves off with, and there was not that there. There were no hand towels either. So, and there was my sweaty shirt, my sweaty pants, and there were my socks. And my sock was not, like, the top of my sock was not sweaty. So I took a shower, and then I dried myself off with the top of one sock because it was the cleanest thing that I had. And I felt so clean afterwards. I was so happy. And I don't know, it could have been in Nijmegen too. I don't remember where it was. But I came downstairs and I felt all clean and refreshed. And all I had done was sully one sock. I was really, and I was like, you know, this is the life, man. If you can dry yourself off from a shower with just with a half of a sock. I felt like I was very powerful at that point. I don't think I ever told you this.
No, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Fuck you.
My touring secret is I only had about 5 days of shirts and pants, but I had at least 20 days of socks and underwear.
Yeah, I knew about that. Yeah, because I'd always end up using your socks by the end of the end of the tour also. Yeah. I told people today, I told like new prospective, I don't know if they were prospective students. Like I'm not usually in front of prospective, or like I'm not in front of this audience.
Yeah, we don't like having the prospective students, having you in front of the prospective students.
For very obvious reasons. But like I was like, well, you know, I'll just drink a cup of coffee since I don't drink alcohol. This is why people drink alcohol too, right?
This is why people drink alcohol.
Yeah. So I had a cup of coffee, and then I went over there and I was like, hi, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the program. And then I told him I gave him my background. I mentioned the band and everything. You know, it's interesting, at least, you know.
No, I
have tenure. It doesn't matter.
No, you've got a good story.
It is kind of interesting story. Right? I even talked about like not, you know, worrying that I wouldn't know how to turn on a computer because I was never taught how to turn on a computer.
This was in 1983, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the part of the story you leave out.
1987.
1987, you were scared of not being... because all the computers you had used were...
All the computers at U of I were like like in the English building.
Terminals.
Like they were terminals. There were, you know, dumb terminals, and they were already on. I'd never turned on a mainframe because I wasn't one of the people who do that.
Regardless, 1980s.
Yeah, 1980s. Late 1980s. Don't make me seem that old. It wasn't like I was using punch cards. So
I used punch cards.
No, you didn't.
Well, they weren't punch cards. My first... I've told you this.
Your dad brought home punch cards.
No. That was different. That actually was... He brought home a terminal with a modem, like the suction cups on it.
Yeah.
With heat... What is it? Heat transfer printing? Whatever. It used... It was almost like a cash receipt. But no, I'm talking about my class, my first CS class in high school, freshman year of high school. They still had a Wang computer, and we had to program it using... It was punch cards, but instead of punching the cards, you used... It was number 2 pencils.
Pencil, yeah.
It was like taking the SAT, except you'd code. Each line would be colored in. So that's the thing is, and then the teacher would take your cards at the end of class, and then they would run them through overnight on the Wang. I never actually saw the computer, and then they'd bring you a printout back.
Right.
And then you could actually correct your punch cards. So that was the great thing, is that since they were...
Oh, right. They were erasable.
Since you were coloring them in with a pencil, the little squares, instead of punching them, you could fix errors. So that was great, actually. And then the next year, they had a TRS-80 lab. That's my high school.
And we're going to have that, too.
We're going to have a TSR. It's going to be kind of a retro thing.
Yeah,
nostalgia computing.
TRS-80. and Palm Pilots.
And it's probably going to be as expensive. So for a while there, you could probably trick out a lab, with TRS-80s for about $50. But now if you wanted to get a room full of TRS-80s to run again and keep them running, and it will probably cost you $100,000 like it did in 1980.
Anyway, I told them all. I told them all that story, and then they had questions. They're asking. It was interesting questions, and yeah, it was nice. But usually our advisor is the person who talks, about this stuff. But I was able to answer most of the questions, and I think in my weird rambling way, I don't know, but. Yeah, so that was, and then I brought them. I had to kick all the students. There was a student project going on, our grad students, and a lot of our grad students are from different places in Africa, and so they're working on they're all working on some sort of a project, a video that talks about women as second-class citizens. I didn't realize that. I walked in on them. They were in the room where I was scheduled to do this prospective student, and so I had to kick them all out. I was like, "You guys can stay," and they were like, "No, we're making a movie." And I was like, "You can make a movie with us," and they were like, "No, we're going to go away now." And so they all left, and they went. So I'm sitting and talking to all the prospective students. Most of them are from the suburbs of Chicago.
So it's
and
a group. You had to talk to a group.
Oh yeah, group of prospective students and their parents.
Wow.
It was all the parents were there too. Why are we paying for this? It's
Exactly.
I'm already the enemy. But our program is fantastic. We love it. And I was so it's so easy to talk about. Why our program is awesome and everything like that. And then afterwards I was like, well, would you guys like to see another one of our rooms? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so we went downstairs, and all the students are in the other room. Walked in, and they're like 15 students that, there's a different vibe in this room. They think they were making something very heavy. Making a documentary about women as second-class citizens. I'm like, hey, can we look at the speakers in here?
So, is the documentary pro or con? No, that's kind of neat though, if you think about it, that these prospective students and parents are seeing a bunch of current students working on the Friday before Thanksgiving break.
Cool. It was it was cool for me too. And I was like, what are you guys working on? Well, we're working on a documentary, and it is about women as second-class citizens. Holy shit, man. Wow. That's
strong,
pretty intense. Yeah. And then my grad student asked, one of my grad students is in one of my classes, did you grade my assignment yet? Because she did an assignment and so one of the students who hung around with her mom, who we kind of know, the family that we kind of know, hung out afterwards, and I said, I explained what this student's project was, and it was about domestic abuse, domestic violence, and stuff. This is a project that takes sound input. The more you yell, something happens. And it was to comfort a person who's, experiencing domestic violence. And so I talked, I got to tell the prospective student, they're not prospective, I think it's a student that's enrolled, or student who is accepted. And so they thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I'm like, yep, this is the kind of stuff that happens here all the time. So it's like a magical place here. It's a magical place. So I work in a magical place. Oh, I'm looking at hi Sherry. The former director of our program is listening. Yikes. Hi. Good. Okay. So what do you have?
Oh, I've got a ton of stuff.
All right.
What do you want to talk? What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's just talk about Andor because it's the greatest. Just may the force be with all of you.
That's not on my list.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just love it so much. I love the costumes. Yeah, we don't need to talk about it.
There's not much to talk about, right? This last episode was a little more of the same, right? So the previous episode had the good, structurally, and had the good kind of cliffhanger, but resolution, and now it's back to another weirdly paced.
Rick doesn't
episode.
like the endings of the. Yeah,
it's just not. It's just yeah, I don't
fine.
think it's actually a series. I think it's a long bunch of storylines chopped up into pieces. I mean, even like a soap opera. You watch a soap opera,
I
and
know,
it's got
yeah.
there's a structure there. There's and I am not dismissive of more sort of non-linear. I mean, I loved Atlanta, so like
Yeah, you love
Atlanta
Atlanta.
just
Yeah,
finished.
yeah.
I had that on my list.
Oh, that finished.
It just finished, and it's like, I mean, they're totally messing with the dynamic and the structure of a series, and not even messing with it. It's just like sometimes they'll just say, okay, you know what, I want to make a episode about this, and they just totally don't. None of the characters are in it, right? And it's not connected in any way. And so I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is that each unit and each episode has a dynamic and an arc, and it doesn't feel like, oh, the clock ran out and now we're going to end this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know why. I apologize to the universe for liking Star Wars enough to like just think about it all the time. I really apologize. I know that there's it's my mythology, whatever. It's my Bible. It's I'm sure it has the same, it's got the same hero's journey as every other important book. But what was I going to just say? Oh shoot. I was watching it, they got Cassian Andor like sitting on a beach and he's like having a moment. And like I was just thinking while I was watching that, it's like, oh well, he dies on a beach, like he dies looking over the water. This is what it looks like when he dies, in Rogue One. And I was just kind of connecting those dots. And so it's for people like me.
Yeah, I'm sure if I cared enough to watch Rogue One again, that I would appreciate. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't appreciate it. I'm pretty Star Wars'd out.
I know, but and then the playtime scenes and stuff. Like there was a lot of French cinema. We talked about this at last Radio Zero. Like Tim Bowers saying greetings from Soden, Austria. Yeah.
Likely story.
Trying to think.
Actually, I saw pictures. So on top of it, he's documenting his international traveling.
Him and Eric Malle, what is he doing? He's all over the place all the time.
It's a little, it makes me feel a little. Except
landlocked?
I'm okay with traveling, but I do realize that I live more the life of the mind. I like traveling, but I actually don't like traveling. I like experiencing different places, but the process of getting to those places I do not enjoy.
No, I like
this
all
is
of
all
that.
just a lead into the fact that we're going.
Is that on your list?
It's
to
not.
Thanksgiving, Florida?
Going to
You're
Thanksgiving,
actually
Florida.
going to leave the...
That's like Christmas. There's a town
Florida.
called Christmas, Florida. Is there a town called Thanksgiving?
So, this for me, this podcast has been inspired by Steve Dahl and Gary Myers. And I don't even think it was them.
Why are we talking about this? What is that?
Thanksgiving.
Oh.
When they would talk about going home for the holidays, and they would like offer comfort for people. I
who
think
had bad
family
dynamics.
Right. And I always thought, and I didn't. Maybe I did at that point. I don't know.
Well, I have to say though, I mean, one of the most insane. Yeah, no, we had a pretty crazy Thanksgiving once at your parents' house.
Really?
You don't remember that?
You had a fight with Kurt or something? Or?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's happened.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one where your brother-in-law and your mother, who were both drinking at the time, got super into it. Like not into it in a good way. Like it degraded into like a classic kind of movie Thanksgiving.
Absolutely don't remember
You
that
don't
at
remember
all.
it. I'll talk to you about it.
Like,
I'll
yeah,
talk
you
to you
can tell
about
me
it.
about it later. But the thing is that your family is a bunch of wasps, and they just sit there.
Yeah, no,
so
no,
nice.
I know.
Oh, let's talk about really intellectual things.
And
that
so you can make fun of that,
No,
but
I'm not, no,
but
they're
you're saying
wonderful.
you're saying there's never been a problem.
Yeah, because I don't know. My parents are like,
it.
"Fuck you," and I'm like, to me, that's not like my family is the loud family, and your family isn't loud, and so it's. I wouldn't notice it if it was. Yeah, I wouldn't notice it probably.
I think this sounds more like
or
you're
I forgot.
blocking out.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know.
Blocking out really negative things because it wasn't. I'm not talking about like your family. I'm not saying that your family's dynamic is always crazy. I'm just saying that when you say Thanksgiving's not a problem, I immediately remember the Thanksgiving that was a problem.
Oh, okay, good. Because I don't remember I don't remember the Thanksgivings at my parents' house very well. So
yeah, I just remember that one. That got super crazy.
I mean, pretty much any time at my parents' house would get super crazy anyway, So like it's just the way. That's just the way it is. Like
I wouldn't say that.
But maybe
I don't feel that way. I just feel like certain holiday celebrations when alcohol was involved.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
Things there would be sparks.
Well, hanging out at your family's house for Thanksgiving, there's no Republicans there at all. There's nobody has a differing opinion ever.
Yeah.
It's been years. It's been decades. And same with my family. My family's, once in a while my mom will be like, well, people shouldn't be able to have abortions. And I'll be like, Mom, yes, they should because it's their body. Oh yeah, you're right. It's just like once in a while she'll she'll accidentally have the station tuned to Fox, and then she'll be like, "Oh, that kind of makes sense." And no, it doesn't, Mom. And oh yeah, you're right. Total Chicago Democrats. But this time, maybe there will be some political discussion.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah. Okay. What is on your list?
I've got the election. The election happened since the last time we had an episode. It seems like months ago.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was just recent.
Yeah, we didn't lose both Congresses, right?
And Nancy Pelosi's stepping down.
Yep, which makes sense because she doesn't want to get killed, and also she's I don't know why she didn't. She looks so old on the TV. Not that that's a problem, but come on.
Yeah,
man.
let's save a little snippet of that to play back to you when you're 82.
I am already old. I'm already old. I shouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing right now. I shouldn't be doing any. I should just be getting ready to retire and not being the director of a program,
Well, too bad you frittered away a decade of your life as a musician.
Learning how to dry myself off with half of a sock.
Exactly.
I still think that's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be
your clock. Our clocks, both of us, our clocks are off by about
10 years. Yeah,
so.
yeah. So we hang out with our fellow faculty, and actually, my grad student came and he's like, "Ma'am, I would like to tell you something. I would like to tell you something." And I'm like, "Okay, what is it? What is it?" For instance, he's like, "I just realized that you're the same age as my mom." I was
that's good. That's still good. It's the grandmother.
That's nice. Thank you.
It gets scary.
Well, that's at that point I was like, "How old is your mom?" And then I'm the same age as one of our colleagues' moms too.
Yeah, totally.
Which means that she's the same age as the grad. No, it doesn't mean
no,
that.
Okay.
Not. What else is on your list?
You want to talk about Black Panther, Wakanda?
Do you want to talk about the election though?
I don't know. I don't know if there's much to talk about.
Young people voted.
Yeah, here in town.
Yeah.
And at the university, from what I heard, I'm trying to remember the details. There were like at the student union, I think it was 1,500 students voted on election day.
That is because we are letting. Okay, so
then 1,200 of them were same day. Registration.
Right,
so
and
it was good.
I did not believe that in Illinois you could register the same day as the election day. You could register to vote, and that's got to be a Democrat thing.
Yeah, totally. But it's also not. Or can you do it everywhere? Could you do it at our polling place? There were some extra people at the polling place, right? That didn't.
Yeah, there was some. Oh, yeah.
There was an extra table.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you could do it at our polling place in our neighborhood.
But just getting that information out to students was interesting. So there was a concerted effort to get that information out. They gave all of us directors, they were like, here's a PowerPoint you can send to your kids. You can have these people, inundating them
Well, that's how
brainwashing them.
I first registered to vote was in the dorm at U of I. I was turning 18, and I registered
Yeah, I probably
Somebody
did
came
too.
by
Yeah.
to my room and said, "Have you registered to vote?" And it's like, "No." And they had the clipboard, and I went through the registration process. I'm like, "I'm not 18 yet." And they're like, "Will you be 18 in November?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I got to vote for Walter Mondale.
We have a couple of callers here. Stephen Williams says, thanks to the youth, it's weird how a generation raised on shooter drills will come out and vote against the gun nuts, isn't
Exactly,
it? The
yeah,
GOP calls to increase the voting age are adorable. Why appeal to voters when you can restrict them instead? So
Exactly.
restrict, I think you meant. And then Carla, I think, is on here. Carla, hey. And then Danny Ingram says you can talk about Marjorie Taylor gas bag wanting to impeach everyone in sight.
Yeah,
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
not really.
What did Elon Musk get elected to? I can't remember now.
Well, in the free market death cult, I think he was king until what, 2 weeks ago? Now, yeah, who's going to be king of the free market death cult? I guess that's Jeff Bezos again, right? They keep switching places. So Jeff Bezos said that he's going to give away all his money before he dies.
I feel,
which is also, that's part of the free market death cult, where you basically, instead of paying taxes to sort of help build, sort of keep up the social contract, what you do is you drain wealth from the system, and then you put it back into the community with your own rules attached and your name attached to it.
okay.
So basically, if those billions of dollars that he accrued had actually been taxed, all of these kids who had, shitty public schools, or, weren't able to pay for college, or had to take out these predatory loans, they could have been supported for these past, how long has it been now? 40 years of the free market death cult?
Is that, are we changing the name of the band? Because children, we're not children anymore. Free market death cult. Yeah, it's nice. Is that yours?
I think it came. I should search, but it did come to me in a vision.
Nice. Okay. So I had a little Schadenfreude. Just hearing him say only the people who are hardcore are gonna stay working at Twitter today. We should find out from our friend Jonas used to work at Twitter, but quit like a couple of days before.
Yeah, we had
this all
mentioned. No,
happened.
he left a month and a half ago, and
Yeah.
is now working at Figma. Just got a new job right before, had started his new job. And then there's also the end of crypto, according to our economic crystal ball, Paul Krugman.
Oh, he says it's the end of crypto. I could almost.
I think
see
it's
that.
the end of crypto as this, the Ponzi scheme side of it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that decentralized economies are a real thing, or going to continue to be a real thing.
I think, and
making $1 billion out of nothing. No, I don't think that's going to continue. Obviously.
Okay. April Smith says he thinks he can redeem his reputation like Carnegie did with funding free libraries.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos. Yeah, no, that's it's like a classic arc. Yeah. And that's the thing is the library thing, though. It was what was it I heard? It was like he gave the money, Carnegie, right? Was the one who did that, right? Yeah. He gave the money for the buildings, but then the community would have to pay for the upkeep, right? So he did not fully fund, right? They weren't endowments, what he did, I believe. So it's not 100%. Not still a good thing. Good thing that we have public libraries, or should I say had, because of course, if you look at the tenets of the free market death cult, this is a public library. It makes absolutely no sense to them.
Sorry, I just yawned.
Irony, though, yeah, because Amazon is actually, part of. Well, I heard an interesting Planet Money about the conflict over ebooks, and so how to in libraries, right? So now all of a sudden, authors were very much in support of public libraries, but now with ebooks, that there's been a rift because it's hard to make, or ebooks, financially speaking, once you start giving them away digitally through a library system, it's not economically beneficial. It's kind of like it's like the Spotify effect.
Yeah.
Although that already kind of happened.
Well, it's like,
anyways, because people stopped reading books.
Letting
Right.
Yeah, that too. Like it's like letting people take out records from the library, right?
Well, my library, the LaGrange library, the Western Springs library had records, but not cool records. They would have,
because those
all
were
that
stolen.
weird, like hippie folkways stuff or something.
Oh,
Whereas,
yeah.
I could ride over to the LaGrange library and they would have, Styx records that you could check out. That's actually, I didn't have to buy Paradise Theater. Is that the one with, no, Mr. Robato's not what Styx record? Wow, is there even a hit song on
Paradise Theater? There is.
What is it? Too Much Time on My Hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know this because somebody gave me that. That's
Yeah.
like one of the second record I ever got for like a birthday present.
But I was able to check that out of the library and then dodged a bullet. I didn't have to buy it.
Do I still have that upstairs?
Probably.
Is that the one that has like the
etching?
Yeah, the etching
or
in the
it's
back.
kind of like a.
Yeah.
It's not quite
Hologram.
an etching.
It's a hologram.
Well, it's like a weird. It's not quite a hologram either. It's just kind of like almost like discolored. It doesn't affect the.
Paradise Theater had an awesome laser etching on
on
side too. Is what Stephen Williams says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you have on your list?
You want to talk about the Black Panther movie?
Sure, you can talk about it.
I mean, I stayed awake during all of it, so that's pretty good for me.
I fell asleep. So
a
in
Marvel movie.
Okay, Chris Walker says he was just in the Bolingbrook Library this fall and was stunned that they had a huge selection of new vinyl, but they do not carry any Salaryman or Poster Children, so he stormed out.
All right, that's what we need.
Thank you, keeping us, whatever. The kid wanted to see the Black Panther, like the kid loves the Black Panther movies. I wanted to know why, but he loves them.
Yeah.
So okay,
I like that first one. That first one had. It felt very Ken Russell-y to me.
Okay, just because of all the
colors
costumes,
and and it almost kind of like Altered States. So like Altered States is like a diluted Ken Russell movie. It's got all the crazy shit, but it's still kind of is a main. I don't think Altered States. Well, yeah, it's a mainstream movie. It was a mainstream movie, played in movie theaters.
Yeah, it was a mainstream movie.
Yeah, it's and I always felt like because of all the weird kind of like what Dream World stuff that was. I only saw Black Panther once, but that was what came out of it. This time though, I did not feel as much of that. It definitely. Yeah, because there wasn't as much Dream World stuff, right? Or whatever that's called, alternate plane stuff. There was just a little bit right at the end.
I mean, yeah. So since she's not a believer in the Dream World stuff, I guess, like she didn't get the elders
that
coming
makes sense.
to her.
Yeah. So super talky though. I was pretty impressed about how talky it was. Like, do people tolerate this? This seems like this is almost like My Dinner with Andre level. Like for a while there's a lot of talking.
What were they talking about?
I don't even remember, but all I remember noting is like, wow, there's been a lot of talking going on. They've been sitting there chatting about stuff for quite a long time.
Nobody's shot anybody for like a good 20 minutes.
I didn't fully absorb, and I guess I was half asleep, but I was awake. But
you were in the dream world.
I was kind of in the dream world, definitely. It was like I was kind of like maintenance watching, where it was like, I'm watching and I'm looking at it and I'm kind of taking in the scenery and then like, man, you're talking.
Danny's
Like it's been a while since somebody's, since there's been like 10 or 15 minutes of punch, punch, bang, bang,
Yeah.
Because that's usually, for me, I have the opposite problem with Marvel movies where it's just like, oh my God, how much more
pew, pew,
punching
pew, pew,
and
CGI.
explosions
Yeah.
am I going to have to sit through? It's like, okay, there have already been 3, so that means what? There are 4 more?
I may have to. I remember thinking, I'm going to have to rewatch this again. Yeah, there was a good amount of talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they come. It's nice, and they're going to leave Wakanda, and they're going to come. Oh, and I read a review that people did not like the Fishman, but I liked him.
Oh yeah,
I thought he
Fishman was
good.
great.
Yeah.
His the little wing feet are a little silly, but it was I like that.
Somebody was complaining about the pointy ears, and I was like, nah, he's got the thing with the nose and stuff, and it seemed nice. Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, and he's talking. What is he talking? Mayan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked all that.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, so there's like a rift between the Poster Children side of Facebook and the Radio Zero side. Danny Ingram on the Radio Zero side says that Chris Walker should be buying his records and not pirating them from the Bolingbroke Library.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. We're all friends here, you guys. Do we want to talk about where we all can meet? Another electronic.
Oh yeah. That was the
that
thing. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought maybe you would take the lead on that since I don't.
Because I forgot to do the thing. So we've decided to have a Discord channel, a Poster Children Discord channel, because
Is it a channel or a server?
server. Because we're on Discord all the time anyway, and it will give us a better reason to. Like our students hate being. So there are like 4 students who like to use the Discord server. Our class. And our unit, our department's Discord server, and then the other students are all on Discord, but they don't want to be. I don't want to talk to my teacher on Discord. Ew, which maybe they just don't want to hear from us.
No,
but
yeah,
anyway,
I can understand that. So,
can't.
like your gaming world, your social world.
But it's another page. It's another. You're going to a different server.
It's still.
And you don't have to go into your email, which they never want to do, and read it and find out your class has been canceled, so you don't have to walk in the snow.
And that's also what I yelled in the faculty meeting as old man, loudest old man in the room. I said, what did I say? I said, asynchronous communication is
Dead.
No, asynchronous communication is necessary for work-life balance.
Okay, whatever.
So having an
Discord,
ability,
he doesn't
for
like,
people to be able to, I'm sitting there on the toilet and some student can come in and say, "Hey, Rick, when's the assignment due?" It's like,
I like that.
I'm on the toilet. Please stop.
So
Please don't. Can't you see that I'm on the toilet? Please don't ask me questions. That's my view of.
Tiny Dick 420 666 just joined the server.
Well, that's my other problem. We've talked about this, right? Is that there's no
Mommy's little boy 420 666 joined the server.
Is when is assignment 10 asks when is assignment 10 due? Who is this?
We don't know who because they don't log in with their names, but it's always 420 666.
It's like I have to keep track of avatars now.
The devil and weed. Okay, so
Weed Bro 1000 says,
just
do we
join
have
the server.
class today? Yeah, great.
Meanwhile, we're gonna have a Poster Children server. So Weed Bro 666 420 can join the server.
So if I put the Discord link up on the Radio Zero page, is that gonna?
This is what I got sidetracked on. So I wanted to put the original Usenet PKids list, PKids, alt.posterkids.
I hope you can type better
Jesus
than you
Christ.
can talk, or this Discord thing's not going to take off.
I wanted to put the original set of rules for our Usenet group, which I have in my book. I wanted to put that up there. It says like Rose suggests that you use this as a place of blah blah blah. So I wanted to put that up there before we invite people.
So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to scan your book and then do.
Yeah, no. On my way to opening my book, I got sidetracked by probably some kind of meeting where I was yelling at people about space. and I got sidetracked. So I'm gonna put that up there. Yeah, I'll have to do that right after Radio Zero. So you can
Okay.
join our server. So I don't know who's gonna do that. There's a Premier Rock forum, right? There's a PRF server, Discord server that nobody ever goes on.
Yeah, maybe it won't work, but
It probably won't work, but at least it'll work for like I don't know, maybe our.
But the thought was it wasn't just Poster Children, just be kind of everything, the collective, Radio Zero, your book, Poster Children, Salaryman, just a...
And it's not to talk about us, it's to talk about stuff that you
a little
learn.
bit about us,
You can
though,
talk
too,
a little bit about
I
us
think.
if we want, but, yeah, it can just the same as the Usenet thing, which was all the stuff that you learn and stuff you're thinking about and, all the stuff that's not fit to print on Facebook. What else you got?
Keith Levine died, guitarist of...
That's you.
Well,
you talk.
one of the original guitarists of... Well, yeah, of Public Image Limited, which he's known for, but also was in The Clash originally. I'm trying to think if they're tapes. I don't think there are. Are there any demos of Keith Levine in The Clash? He was instrumental in getting Joe Strummer to join The Clash, and then quite soon after, Keith Levine was out. But yeah, great. I don't know, very, very inspirational guitarist, along with Andy Gill from Gang of Four, kind of helped define the post-punk anti-guitar sound, I would say. So, clanky, tinny. Oh, also, Roger Miller from Mission to Burma, I realized. So I listened to, there was a great podcast, well, at least the episode about, there have been a couple of good episodes. It's about albums and how they were made, and they interview the artists, or as many of them that are alive or available to talk about track by track. And the versus Mission to Burma, there's a great, I wish I could remember the name of the podcast, but they go through it all, and I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, holy shit, I always forget about how influential Roger Miller was on me as a guitarist also. And especially since also Volcano Sons and a lot of the songs that Peter Prescott, the drummer from Mission to Burma, when he formed Volcano Sons, he wrote, on guitar a lot of those songs, like the song Jack of All Trades, or Jack, from the first Volcano Sons record.
I love that song.
Very, very similar to a kind of Roger Miller type Mission to Burma era thing, where you kind of leave the top 2 or 3 strings sort of open and drony, and you play chords around it. That's something that I stole.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit, which of these songs?
Keith Levine was not so much that. He was more like needly sounding, and not a traditional guitar solo like, Jimi Hendrix. It was not a Jimi Hendrix guitar player, right?
So which of these songs?
But could play that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Which songs of yours or of ours, or which guitar riffs are kind of inspired? You think you're like, oh yeah, that's that.
By Mission to Burma or Keith Levine?
Any of these?
Any of that stuff. Pretty all
Trace
the
your
early
roots.
stuff. Like, so we're starting to go through Flower Plower, our first record, which is a combination of the first iteration of our band and second iteration. And so...
And recorded by Ian Burgess and Steve Albini.
Yeah, and we're going to be re-releasing that on vinyl.
Bundled with my book.
Yes, and there'll be an announcement about that at the beginning of December. Listening to that stuff, that's where it was. So also listening to our first early recordings, hearing songs like Question that have the harmonics. And it's moving, and so there's definitely like Minutemen stuff in there, but then moving towards, as it goes into the more grunge era, right? So the Brendan stuff, right? That's where the more post-punk. Well, no, I think all that early stuff was influenced by like Gang of Four and Public Image Limited and Mission to Burma. So the Public Image Limited stuff, I think the influence would be the songs that are all one chord or one riff, right? And so that's where Public Image comes
Rain
into that.
on Me, Question.
Rain on Me, I wouldn't say. That was more Husker Du and REM influenced, I would say. Even though the lyrics were written before Fall on Me, right? There's a REM song called Fall on Me, right?
Yeah, probably. They probably copied that too.
No, I'm not saying they copied it. I'm saying that that's not the REM influence on that song.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and what I always remember, Keith Levine, is also he played a Travis Bean guitar. And so, being influenced by Big Black also, so Steve Albini's guitar sound, also, and him talking about Travis Bean's, and then that tour we did with Six Finger Satellite, which was right about the time that John, the guitar player at the time, founding member of Six Finger Satellite, got zapped by post-punk. Like he went from, so that was the thing, is that tour we were on with them, they were still like
doing crazy
kind
stuff.
of grunge like stuff, right? And he was like, "Where did you get your Travis Bean? I need to get a Travis Bean." And he had rolled all the bass off of his guitar, and they were starting to do new songs that were definitely like 80s and post-punk influenced, and it was like, I need to get a Travis Bean wedge guitar because that's what Keith Levine plays, right? He was definitely, that's what I remember most, is like where the connection to the Travis Bean and to Public Image Limited, which I don't think I had. Well, no, and I'm trying to think, because this would be before YouTube, is how would I know about Public Image Limited? And how do I know about Public Image Limited? And it was because I watched The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. And so that's also the thing, is I posted it on Facebook. There's an amazing interview with John Lydon and Keith Levine talking to Tom Snyder, who is doing the classic angry guy talking to punk rockers, but not realizing that. And he kind of knows, he's Tom Snyder was not an idiot, but like was wrestling with their sort of post-punk conceptual stuff that they were doing with Public Image Limited, where it's like, oh, it's not a band, it's a company, it's a multimedia, it's a multimedia company. We're doing films and videos. It's not a band. And he's just like, what the hell? I want to talk to a punk rocker and get into it, like the Donahue episode of punk rock. And it's like, these guys have already moved on to the next thing, and Tom Snyder's trying to deal with them, and not he knows that it's about antagonism, because he's talking to punk rockers, but they've gone beyond that, and it's really, really fascinating. And so I had seen lovely. That. I used to stay up way too late to watch Tom Snyder. So Tom Snyder, one of the biggest musical influences, because seeing the Clash, there was that. Talk about that. So they did that. There's that Clash when the Clash was recording Sandinista, I think, in New York, and they did their Bonds Casino run, those shows, and them just sitting there playing. I think it's Radio Clash, and Mick Jones just slamming on this Roland drum trigger, that goes whee, and he's got his Roland Space Echo. Or Chorus Echo, I think, delay going, and it was just like, what the hell is this? Because I had heard Train in Vain, and then all of a sudden these guys are doing completely nuts stuff. I'm trying to think of what else I saw on Tom Snyder. It was amazing, but definitely Public Image Limited was like, I was scared. I think I was still scared of punk rock.
Growing up in the suburbs, the nice suburbs of Chicago,
because that was one of the most terrible. I mean, I remember that when the Sex Pistols stuff happened, and the all I knew about was the Sid Vicious stuff and him, murdering his girlfriend and then being in jail and then committing suicide. I remember seeing that on the news, and I was already interested in music, but I was in junior high, and even the name Sex Pistols, like I don't think I ever like you would. I wouldn't have heard any of the music. It wouldn't have been playing on the radio stations that I listened to. Yeah, and just the only thing I knew was from the news in like 1978. And so I still had that, but then seeing Public Image Limited on Tom Snyder was like, oh, okay, this is scary, but it's not.
I could handle this.
And I was older. Yeah. I was older then. Right, I was more curious.
Danny Ingram says, check out Steel Leg versus the Electric Dread, early Levine, Wobble, Lydon, and Don Letts. Great EP around the time of the first Pill LP.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Massively, I want to hear it too. And then Chris Walker says Levine was also a roadie for Yes in the
Oh,
early
that's right.
1970s.
That's right. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's definitely, I mean, comes across as like a anti-guitarist, but it was definitely not that, or it was a choice. The choices he was making were not just completely based around antagonism. They were conscious choices, artistic choices, progressive, almost like prog rock, right? And that's having a greater understanding of, krautrock and stuff like that is like when you listen to Metal Box now, you realize, oh, okay, they're just synthesizing all this crazy stuff that they'd been listening to that wasn't, kind of rock and roll punk rock. It's like the more edgy kind of areas of prog or krautrock,
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
This is why you need to be teaching in the music production sequence, because you can talk like this, and people need to
about
hear
old musicians
well,
that
it's
aren't.
history.
Yeah.
That are influential, and just the processes that they went through, right? You don't think that's what?
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
I
no.
guess somebody
Yeah.
else, like somebody younger than you probably should be teaching, and somebody younger and like more diverse than you. Is that what you're thinking?
No.
Okay.
What I'm thinking about is I think it's hard for me to tell. Yeah, I think Keith Levine is important. I don't know.
No, but I mean, you have like all this institutional knowledge. Yeah, it's not like you're going to give a selected topics course on Keith Levine, but you just have you have a lot of knowledge about this stuff, and students who know that, really respect that. I know, oh my God, Rick is so smart.
And it is interesting because I still have that kind of set idea of music as being tied generationally, and it's not that anymore. It's this vast ocean or buffet,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and
because it's all available to everybody.
Here's a table you might not have heard of, which is
exactly.
Post-punk. Here's the post-punk table. You should go over there in the back of the buffet over there and check out the post-punk table.
There is nostalgia for our generations.
The steam trays filled with Public Image Limited and Gang of Four.
Okay, what else do you have?
Pylon and Mission to Burma. Neil Brennan, you didn't watch much of that special, but the comedian, I don't know if anybody else has watched the Blocks special. I found it I liked it, but I also found it somewhat disturbing.
Oh, I watched half of it, and then we both got up, and I was kind of like, I was getting bored already, and I figured he did the best part at the beginning anyway. But anyway, you can talk about it.
I don't know if there's anything to talk about, actually.
Well, yeah.
It was interesting.
It was nice to hear another person talking the same way as you feel.
Exactly.
Right?
It was a little too close to home.
Tell us a little bit about where you felt seen.
I don't know. It seemed very cynical. He's older. So it's a very Gen X-y view of the world. But it's also the struggling kind of thing. And it was also directed by, what's his name? Delgadio, the guy who did the magic show.
Yeah. You could tell, too. It's
the
like
Mentalist
the same,
Act.
Yeah.
It's totally being condescending about what that actually, how powerful that
Did you
show
cry
is.
at the end of the Blocks one too?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was much. It had elements of what is the Derek Delgadio thing called? I can't remember now. Life as We Know It. Is that right? No.
Look it up.
Anyways, it had elements of it, and it has the personal stuff, and it has some moments that are characteristic, or he's put his touch on it, and I liked it. I know I did like it.
In and of itself.
In and of itself. Thank you. But
interdisciplinary artist.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain what the word interdisciplinary meant. So you just liked, you're like you should watch it. This guy says he hates dogs.
He doesn't hate dogs. He just goes through the human dog relationship. It's just very funny.
Yeah.
It's like
he's
going to be your best friend,
Yeah.
Keith, and he's like Keith is my around my ninth best friend.
Yeah.
And then
his
he's
dog.
also like, and I don't know if it's that I don't understand the human dog relationship or that I really understand the human dog relationship, right? It's like, and that's sometimes how I feel, not about dogs specifically, but where it's a lot of talking about not
fitting in.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, really
what was
not
the
fitting
thing
in.
the funniest thing he says it right at the beginning is like I'm going to be on my deathbed, and it's going to be like, what does he say?
Is that nurse mad at me?
Is the nurse?
Yeah.
Does that nurse hate me? Boop,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's
It's like
totally
that
you.
to me encapsulated
Yeah,
everything about
yeah,
me, right?
yeah.
So it felt too close to home. It was like, ooh, somebody but he's worse off, I think. His life is, and he's had a lot harder of a life. So,
Yeah.
and he's going through a lot more therapy, and he's trying to fix himself.
Unlike you, who's not going through therapy and not trying to fix yourself.
Yeah, and that's part of it. So I think about therapy, but the problem is so I also watched the what is it called? Stutz? Is that it? It's Jonah Hill's therapist. It's a documentary about his therapist. Super interesting. But it's like, yeah, I would like to, if I was to go into therapy, I need to have somebody that I can say, well, let me explain where I'm at already. I've already done a lot of work, and I understand what's going on. And so we can either spend...
What makes you think that they're not going to listen to that? What do you think?
Well, it's actually listening to this therapist talk. His whole motivation is like, instead of spending years talking about everything that's wrong and the therapist sitting there and kind of just saying, well, what do you think about that? And kind of being objective, right? Or being... not part of the conversation.
Right.
His path was, how can I get somebody out of the first session already starting to feel better or working on getting better?
Yeah.
Right. So taking a
you
kind
need
of
a life
mechanic viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
As opposed to the more kind of traditional talk therapy. That's really, yeah.
Well, I think that's what it seemed like. That's what, Dairy King, when he was, when I was sitting in on his therapy sessions,
Whoa. Okay.
What?
Yeah, no.
I
go ahead.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I remember Olivia, let's call her Olivia because that's her name, just saying, I understand that you're upset about that, but that has already been written. That has already happened.
Yeah.
And so we're going to move on from that. Like this was written. And when I reminded him of that too, and he was like, that's a Tenet quote. And I was like, well, it's also an Olivia quote because I heard her say it. And it hit me like that it is already written, like when I hear older people go, oh, my mom, was mean to me. And so that's why I'm this way. And it's just like, that is already written. Move on,
Yeah, and that was what was interesting about this Jonah Hill thing, where it was because also his mom shows up. That's what's really, and that was crazy. Like where, yeah, there's a little moment with his mother and the therapist, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. She does great. The mom does great, and obviously, but it's terrifying also. But yeah, the thing about. But there is a reason to think about, the way this guy worked. It was interesting. He talked about whatever it was, person X or something like that, or whatever, the negative person, right? That's always kind of there, that identity that you play off against, or that's part of you. And so a lot of that has to do with things that happened to you as a kid and everything like that. So it's not, but the idea, but he also talks about just moving on, right? Or working through things. And also not, at least this was my interpretation. I don't know. Yeah, not thinking about the end goal, but actually the process. Like most of life is just going through the motions and doing the work, right? Which is also something I think of, and I was just talking to somebody else about this last night. Was the Twyla Tharp thing, her creative process. Her book about creativity, which is basically, from like 15 or 20 years ago. She's a choreographer. I talk about this all the time.
I know who Twyla Tharp is.
Yeah. I'm not. So
No,
you're not the only one listening.
No. I understand. Yeah.
It's more like a productivity book than a creativity book, like a classic creativity book, like Find Your Muse. It's kind of like shut up and just go work every day. Go into the studio. Right.
I like that.
As opposed to, thinking about it and waiting for lightning to strike and all of that. So it goes back to that idea. So I liked it. It was good.
I had a realization this week. Or do you have more? Sorry, I interrupted.
No,
you.
I don't.
Okay.
But I was also trying to figure out, like, this guy was talking about. So, like, Jonah Hill talking about his image of himself, especially as a kid, because he was overweight, and then that dynamic with his mom and with doctors, and how that's been over his life. And I know I've always felt out of place, but I don't feel like I necessarily felt I had to not be who I was. Like, I don't feel like I have a person that I'm trying to be. Maybe I do. That's the problem. I kind of stumbled on that. It's like, well, what is this inadequacy I'm trying to remedy, or I'm constantly battling with, or trying to deal with people? And I don't know if I have. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me, I guess. And that's the thing. The Neil Brennan thing is like, there's something wrong with me. That's all it is. But then I watch him, and it's like, there's a lot more wrong with him, right? And so a lot of it is maybe like, oh, maybe there's nothing wrong with me.
Well, maybe that's why that's a good show for you to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always noticed, like, everybody talks so highly about you, and you're a very generous person. You're a very moral person. These are the things I love about you. You're really smart, but you're really kind, and you're really compassionate, and you like spend huge amounts of energy trying to make people feel good who you're talking to. That's like your whole thing, is like you always want to make sure that people are feeling good, are happy. Like, that's what you do. That's your thing.
And that doesn't.
And then you're like, oh, I think people hate me.
That's
like
not my inner monologue, and that's not the way I feel like I interact with the world.
But I mean, and then people will come up to me, like people at work are like, oh my God, Rick is so great because he did this and he does that and he does this and he does that, and it's like, yeah, I know, I married him. But you don't, it's weird that you don't. I remember also, like, a long time ago, we'd be like walking somewhere, like a mall or something. You'd be like, people are, like, you'd be worried that you looked weird in the mall. And like, I'd be having like purple hair or something. You'd look like a totally normal person. And I'd be looking at you like, what the hell are you talking about? You look absolutely perfectly normal.
Yeah.
It is really weird.
I don't feel like I have, an overwhelming thing that way. What I remember is a MASH quote. There's a moment where somebody says to Radar O'Reilly, you're such a nice person. And it was like, well, I had to be nice or my mom would hit me. Which is not my mom was nothing like that.
No.
But I love that idea where it was like, oh, I have to be nice or else I'd get punished, right? So there's that, like, being nice under threat of violence. I always loved that. I never that was not my family dynamic at all.
Yes.
But that idea, I think the idea of so I guess what's funny about it is not being nice. I guess it's refusal to give myself credit. This is probably just all a symptom of that. Yeah,
that's
probably my problem.
Thing.
Yeah, is
and you're not.
I cannot accept a compliment, and I cannot accept anything positive.
Yeah,
yes,
no, that's too
that's
bad.
my problem.
Maybe you should go get therapy.
Yeah, but the thing is you know what? Why do I need? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you seem pretty. I mean, you seem okay to me.
Yeah,
like you're pretty nice to me. So
yeah, I think
I'm okay. But I have no idea. Like, you've been having to, you've been doing meditation lately, or
kind of. That was the thing. Yeah, the guy, the Jonah Hill therapist. It was basically like food, exercise, and there was one other thing, pain, or dealing with pain, right? Or doing work or something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was just like, sleep. It was food, exercise, and sleep, right? It's like, if you just do those things, you can fix a huge amount.
Yeah,
right?
Exercise being important. Yeah.
So I got to do better with that. And it's also, and that's the Jonah Hill thing, is treating food and exercise as sort of part of a medical problem, right? Where your problem with food is medical. Your problem with exercise is medical, and then also the way you look, and all of that is like that's important, and that's what I need to stop. I need to stop doing that too, where it's like, oh, well, I eat pretty well, I guess, but it's like not treating it as a way of like being thinner, right? So for food, and then exercise being more healthy looking, right? Like being muscular or something, being thinner again, right? I think is that dynamic is really poisonous, where it's just kind of like, no, what you really need to do is you just need to move around, and you need to not eat shit, right?
Yeah.
And you may not look like a model, when you do that, but if you do that, you are going to feel better.
Yes. Yeah.
And so thinking of it as medicine in that way. So it's like so
it's why I do capoeira all the
Yeah.
time. It is, I know that if I don't get exercise, I will get depressed.
yeah.
I mean, and it's a medical thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Cause I've like over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot less cause of my hurt foot, and I could tell my mood is just going down. Yeah, it is a medical thing, but also with the meditation too. I talked about meditation in my class.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like half this guy's the Jonah Hill therapist. It's just he's repackaging, visualizing, like it's like, what is it called when you think about a person you hate and you send love to them?
Meta.
Yeah, it's he has a different name for it. It's that, and then he's think of yourself as part of this. Yeah, larger thing.
Phil
Yeah.
Strings on here. He says food, exercise, sleep, and drinking plenty of water. And how nice that you're listening to us. That's really neat.
It's and so that was interesting too, where it was like, oh, okay, this therapist, he's just kind of packaging some Buddhist or mindfulness stuff, in a way that cynical people, who are don't necessarily want to. Or it was interesting. So it was good. I recommend the documentary, the Stutz. Is that what it's called? It's something like that.
I'll have to watch it.
It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting experiment. And what's really interesting is that I believe Jonah Hill, since he's made the documentary, has made a decision that he is no longer going to publicly promote anything that he's involved with. Like he has completely reassessed his relationship with
media. His public.
Yes, as a human.
Wow.
It's like, and it's interesting because he's a great example, because he's basically he says that, and that's where it gets interesting, because he's very insistent at the beginning of the documentary that this is about the therapist, it's not about him, and it's like they have to start talking about him, because there's no way that they can, because it is more conversational type of therapy, but him just basically saying the thing where it's like I did everything right, I got everything right, like he reached a peak, right, of success, won the lottery, right, won the Mega Millions, won the Powerball, and was completely miserable, was destroyed. His brother also died suddenly, 40-year-old brother, but it was that, the prizes have not, the goals, the dreams coming true have not made me a functional human being. So that's what's great about it too, is seeing, it's always good. And that's in a more, sort of negative way. That's why we love seeing famous people fall, right? Or have problems. It's because it's like, oh, okay.
I don't know if I like that, but
no, but a lot of people do.
People like it.
People love it.
Yeah. Schadenfreude.
Yeah. But that also doesn't mean that you should feel sorry for Elon Musk necessarily, right? Although I do feel a little sorry for him, like hearing, the way his father is, and it's like, oh, but I don't want to be an apologist, but it is like, oh, these people are human beings, but also, yeah, you're not a normal person when you're, again, the king of the free market death cult.
Sarah Garibaldi says hi. That's not what she's saying. She's saying, damn it, I did it again. I think she came in late. It's the time change.
Same time zone though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Can you play some music for her?
Some like exit music?
No.
Oh.
The lady music.
Damn it. I always hit the wrong one. That's the Tesla music.
Yeah. Thank you. have anything to report, though. So, she's really happy, though. Thank you for listening. And stay tuned for Forced, a ladies' Star Wars podcast.